Welcome back, guys. This is a quick video on preparing images for texturing. I'm in Photoshop. This is a high-res image I've downloaded off the internet. It's rectangular at this point, so we're going to have to save this out as a square. We're also going to have to save the resolution out in a multiple of 64. I'm going to save this out as a 2K image, so 2048 by 2048. So first thing I'm going to do is dump what I don't need. I'm going to crop this so it's perfectly square. So I'm just going to click on the crop tool over here and hold shift so I can drag out a perfect square. Now probably going to keep that detail over here, so I'm going to drag it over to the right, hit enter. Now I've got my square image. I'm just going to create a couple of layers to work with. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate that background layer. So I'm going layer, new layer from background, and I'm also going to create another working layer. So the first map I'm going to create is a bump map. So in Maya, middle value grey is no bump, white is impression, and black. So I'm just going to swap these two layers around. So I've got the middle grey value behind my image layer, and I'm just going to grab a paint bucket and type in 128 values of red, green and blue. Okay, I'm going to dump the paint bucket in that underneath layer. Before I get too crazy, I'm just going to save out my color channel map. So I'm going to file, save as, a TIFF. I'm going to call it concrete color, and locate my Maya folder, which is documents, Maya, projects, and I'm going to save the color map in the source images folder, and I'm going to uncheck layers. I just want one flat layer for this, and save as a copy. So that's the color map saved, and the default preferences are fine as long as you have that discard layers. Next, I'm going to work on the bump map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save another version of this file in Photoshop format to come back to. So I'm going to save as a copy, and I want to go as a PSD file. So I'll save this one out as concrete specular .psd as a copy with layers. I'll leave this one on the desktop. Okay, so now I'm going to save one more copy, and you can work using whatever method you like. I just like having multiple copies as backups. Call this bump. Again, I'm going to save it as a PSD file with layers. Save. Okay. So if I was to map this image as it is into the bump channel of an object, it would be almost too intense to use. If I was to map this straight grey on an object's bump channel, there'd be no bump whatsoever, because this is a middle value. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to blend that top layer into the bottom layer. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. One is just to lower the opacity using the slider on the top layer. I'm going to try and get a little bit more detail than that. So what I'm going to do is grab that top layer, change its blend mode using the drop down to multiply, and then I'm still going to bring its opacity back, and that's pretty good. So all that black area, they're all going to be depressions. Okay, now I'm going to save a copy of that out to be used as the bump map. So I'm going to go File, Save As. This time I'm saving back in my source images folder. And we're going TIFF, dropping our layers and saving as a copy. Okay, that's the bump map done for the moment. Now we're going to work on that specular map. Just going to open that PSD file again. Now with a specular map, a white value is really shiny, has a really high specularity, and a black value has none. This is concrete, so we don't want much white in this image, so I'm just going to do some contrast tricks to fix that. So with my color channel, my color layer selected, go Image, Grayscale. I've just discarded the layering. I don't need color information for a specular map. Actually, you don't need color information for a bump map either. So here's my image. I'm going to go image mode, image adjustments. I'm going to use the brightness and contrast sliders to try and really contrast that out just to get the detail. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I've got this image. If I was to put that on a model, it would be extremely shiny, which is not what we want. So I'm just going to go Image, Adjustments, Invert, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to save that one out as the specular map. TIFF, dropping layers. Okay. Done. Okay guys, let's drop these images in and see how they look. We'll start with the floor. So I'm going to give this a new material. I'm going to give it a blend shader and name my material floor material. I'm going to drop that image into the color channel, that color image. So File, in the attribute editor, clicking on the file, and there's my color channel. So nothing's happened. That's because I don't have textures turned on in the viewport. Just going to turn those on. And there it is there. Okay, so I'm just going to turn my viewport renderer up a little bit. I'm going to go renderer and go up to high quality. This gives me a better view of the image on the object. Okay, next I'm going to drop the bump channel in. So I'm going to select the object again, go to the attribute editor, back to my material, and there's my bump channel there. So click the checkerboard, another file, and I'm going to drop it into the bump value. So I'm going to have to click this arrow here, and now I've got the opportunity to drop a file in there. So concrete bump is the file I'm using. Assign that to bump channel. And I'm just going to do a quick test render. Yeah, it's a pretty weak bump, but that's alright for this. Okay, finally I'm going to add some specular control using my specular map. So specular color, another file, Okay. One more thing I'm just going to do is actually create a light in Maya so I can actually see what's going on here. I'm going to use area light, which emits light from a selected rectangular area. So I'm going to go create lights, area light. There's my light there. And I'm just going to rotate it a little bit to the floor. I'm going to turn on the lights in my viewport, try and get an idea of where the light's actually shining. So there's the light there. Just going to do a test render. Okay, I need a little bit more brightness on that. What I might do, just duplicate that light. I'm just going to rotate this third one, bring the intensity down. I'm just trying to get more of a 3D lighting set up here. And test render. Okay. And I'm going to add one more light. It's just an ambient light. This just projects light in every direction. Just going to drop the intensity down to 0.2. And one more render. So I've just done the 3 comparison renders. This one here is the first render with just the color channel mapped. This one here has the color and the bump channel mapped. And the third one has that specular component added. It's pretty hard to see in this render, so I'm just going to show you in the actual scene file. I'm just going to click off. You see that shiny specular highlight in the corner of the model? So that's added by the specular map.